Okay, sometimes you just get that craving, right?
Yeah.
For a psychological thriller that doesn't let up, full of twists and turns.
Oh, yeah. And when you think about that kind of book, Freida McFadden definitely comes to mind.
She really does. She's built this huge reputation for, well, for exactly that. Super twisty novels. One review we looked at actually said they're more fun to consume than a bag of Skittles.
Huh. That's pretty high praise for a thriller author, isn't it? That feeling of just flying through the pages.
Totally.
Huh.
And that addictive quality seems to be front and center in her brand new one, The Intruder.
Right. It's classed as mystery psychological thriller. Just came out from Poison Pen Press.
So our goal today is basically to give you the shortcut. We've dug into the big reviews for The Intruder. We want to unpack the plot, the characters who are definitely complex, maybe even compromised, and the sort of darker themes that are going on underneath.
So if you want the lowdown on the book without wading through all the reviews yourself.
Exactly. We're diving into the storm, quite literally in this case, to figure it all out for you.
Okay, let's get into the setup then. Because it starts with a really classic, almost gothic kind of feel, but McFadden really nails it.
So who do we meet first?
We meet Casey. She's our initial way in. She's a former teacher living totally alone in this rundown cabin way off the grid.
Isolated. Already sounds tense. And there's a reason she left teaching.
Yeah, the reviews mention her mysterious exit from her old life, so she's definitely got baggage from the start.
Okay, secrets piling up.
Yeah.
And the setting itself adds to it, right, before anything even happens.
Absolutely. She's getting ready for this big storm that's rolling in, and the reviewers point out that the storm itself basically becomes a character.
Right, so nature isn't peaceful here. It's menacing, trapping her.
Exactly. The feeling is immediately claustrophobic. And then the actual intruder part happens.
Okay.
Casey sees someone outside her kitchen window, like lurking. She goes to check it out and finds this young girl hiding in her tool shed.
Oh, wow. Just a kid.
Yeah, but it's immediately alarming. The girl is silent. She won't trust Casey. She looks like she hasn't eaten in days.
Right.
And she's covered in blood.
Blood. Okay,
Yeah.
that changes everything. So what does Casey do?
Well, her first instinct is, human kindness. She manages to coax the girl inside, gives her food, offers her a place to stay for the night away from the storm.
Makes sense. But given the blood, that kindness probably doesn't last long.
That's the thing. It shifts incredibly fast. Once the girl who Casey starts calling Ella for now is inside and the storm is raging outside, Casey gets this creeping dread.
Right, she's trapped in this tiny cabin with a stranger covered in blood. No way to call for help.
Exactly. It becomes incredibly nerve-wracking. Casey starts thinking, what have I done? Who is this girl? Is she dangerous?
And as readers, we start finding out alongside Casey. Or do we get more info?
We start getting pieces through McFadden's use of a dual timeline, which she handles really well.
Oh, okay. So present-day cabin tension plus flashbacks.
Precisely. We get these flashbacks woven in, showing us Ella's past. It's presented as this really painful origin story. Makes her seem like purely a victim at first.
How so? What happened to her?
Oh, it's brutal. The flashbacks show Ella being horribly abused by her mother, a hoarder, apparently very selfish, who'd lock her in a closet, even use cigarette burns on her.
Oh, my God. That's horrific. So, naturally, you feel for the girl immediately. Protective.
Totally. Deep sympathy. But then comes the classic McFadden move. The pivot.
The twist. I was waiting for it. How does it happen?
It happens during this weird moment where Casey and Ella are kind of sharing stories, like twisted bedtime stories.
Okay.
And Casey realizes that this kid's stories are dark, like really dark. One review said they would spook even Stephen King.
Whoa.
And that's when the suspicion flips. Casey starts thinking, maybe Ella isn't running from someone. Maybe she's running from something she did.
Ah, the psychological shift. It's not about who hurt her, but what she's done.
Exactly. And the immediate reveal, the first big shock, is about the blood.
Yeah, whose blood is it?
It's her mother's. The abusive, hoarding mother. Ella killed her, set a fire.
Wow. Okay. That lands like a ton of bricks. One review called it shock and twisted logic, and I can see why.
Yeah, it forces you, the reader, to completely reevaluate how you feel about Ella. Suddenly, she's not just a victim.
No, she's something else. And this throws us right into that morally gray territory you mentioned.
Definitely. It's not straightforward good versus evil anymore. It really becomes about these two complex characters. Casey, the protector who might not be reliable.
And the girl, Ella, who we later find out is actually named Eleanor, or Nell.
Right. And Casey herself is labeled the unreliable protector. She seems kind at first, but as the story unfolds, you see she's also deeply damaged. Morally compromised, as one review put it.
How so? What's her secret?
Well, this is maybe the biggest gut punch at the novel, the parallel between them.
Okay.
Casey also killed her mother.
Well, her mother, too.
Yes, also a toxic, hoarding mother, and Casey burned her alive.
No way.
Yeah.
That's an incredible parallel. So the woman sheltering the girl who killed her abusive mother did the exact same thing.
Exactly. It's this unbelievably dark, shared trauma that just anchors the whole story. It's shocking.
Shocking is one word for it. But, I mean, does that feel believable? Two people, isolated, both killed their hoarding mothers in fires. Did the reviews buy that, or does it feel like too much coincidence?
That's a fair question. It's definitely a big swing McFadden takes, but the critics seem to argue it works because it's so thematically potent.
How do you mean?
The idea isn't just random chance. It's suggesting that this specific kind of environment, the hoarding, the abuse, the oppression, inevitably leads to this kind of violent outcome. They're connected by the trauma, not just luck.
Okay, I can see that. It makes the connection much deeper. They're not just strangers. They're mirrors of each other in this really disturbing way.
Victims turn perpetrators.
Right, and it frames Eleanor, or Nell, perfectly as this wounded predator. That's a great description from one review.
Wounded predator, I like that. Yeah, she's this incredibly ambitious character because you feel that deep sympathy for her past, for the system failing her. But at the same time, she's terrifying because you know what she's capable of.
So you're rooting for her and scared of her all at once.
Exactly. It's really complex, and that's why it works as more than just, a standard thriller.
Okay, so we know Nell killed her mother, but you mentioned her arrival at Casey's cabin wasn't random. There's more driving the plot.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't just stumbling through the woods during a storm. This leads to the final big twist, which involves another character named Lee.
Lee. Okay, who is Lee?
Well, figuring that out is key. Initially, you might think Nell just happened upon Casey's cabin, but the truth is, Nell came there looking for someone. It turns out the whole plot is driven by revenge.
Revenge. Against who? Lee?
Sort of. Okay, let's untangle this, because there are aliases and family secrets involved. It can get a bit confusing.
Lay it on us.
Nell's father is a guy named Anton, and he's in prison for something that happened in the past. Nell is seeking revenge against Lee because she thinks he's tied up in why her father is locked away, basically ruining her family.
So Lee is the target of her revenge. But who is Lee really? Is that an alias?
It is. Lee is actually a man named Bradley.
Okay. And Bradley is?
Bradley is Anton's brother, which makes Bradley, a.k.a. Lee Nell's uncle. Not her father, as you might initially suspect, or just some random guy.
Ah, so it's all in the family. Nell is after her uncle, Bradley Lee, because she blames him for her father Anton's imprisonment.
You got it. McFadden uses this hidden identity, this family connection, to tie everything together, the past crimes, the present danger in the cabin, Casey's own past. It makes Nell's arrival at that specific cabin make sense. It wasn't random, it was targeted.
Wow. Okay, that connects all the dots. So the cabin isn't just a shelter, it's potentially the stage for this final act of vengeance.
Precisely. And understanding that lets us kind of zoom out and see the bigger themes the reviewers were picking up on.
Right, the stuff that makes it more than just plot twists. What were the main ones?
Well, the most obvious one is inherited trauma. This idea that violence just keeps going, generation after generation. Victims become perpetrators. We see it clearly in both Casey and Nell.
Makes sense.
What else?
There's a huge focus on motherhood. Not just the bad mothers, but the whole idea of family bonds, both the ones that nurture and the ones that destroy. It really questions what makes someone a mother. Is it blood or behavior? Especially given their histories.
And you mentioned the setting earlier. The cabin, the home.
Yes, the theme of home is crucial. The cabin starts as Casey's refuge, but it becomes a trap. And for Nell, her childhood home wasn't a sanctuary. It was literally described as a prison of hoarded objects and abuse.
A prison she had to burn down. So the physical space is deeply tied to the psychological horror.
Absolutely. Okay, so shifting gears to what the critics thought overall. The strengths are pretty much what you'd expect from McFadden.
The pacing. Top-notch. Reviewers called it an addictive page-turner. Mastery of pacing, for sure. They also really liked the moral ambiguity.
Right, not giving easy answers, making you question who to root for.
Exactly. You're constantly shifting allegiance, questioning your own moral compass when looking at Casey and Nell. And the setting, the storm people, loved how that was used not just for isolation, but as a metaphor for all the inner turmoil.
Yeah, that sounds effective. And the twists, did they land?
Mostly, yes. The big reveals were seen as both surprising and inevitable, which is kind of the holy grail for twist writing, right? You don't see it coming, but afterward it feels like it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Okay, so lots of positives. But this is a balanced look. So what about the criticisms? Where did it fall short for some reviewers?
Well, there was a sense that maybe it's not as strong as some of her others. A bit subjective, perhaps, but noted.
Any specifics?
Yeah, some felt the flashback sequences occasionally suffered from over-explanation.
Ah, so maybe telling instead of showing sometimes. Sacrificing a bit of that mystery to make sure the backstory is crystal clear.
Potentially, yeah. It could slow things down a bit when the tension in the cabin is really high. And there were bigger issues raised about the ending, a resolution.
Oh, like what? If the ending doesn't work.
Well, some critics felt it relied too much on coincidence and convenient timing that strains credibility.
Can you give an example?
Like Nell figuring out exactly where Casey Lee would be. Given she's a traumatized kid on the run, her detective skills felt a little too good, maybe a bit convenient for the plot.
I can see how that might feel a bit forced after all the careful buildup.
And related to that, the portrayal of, say, the police or social services, they were sometimes seen as caricatures.
Meaning, like, unrealistically incompetent or just absent when needed.
Pretty much. Which, happens a lot in thrillers to keep the protagonists isolated, but some reviewers felt it was particularly noticeable here.
Yeah, that's a common trope, but it can pull you out of the story if it feels too obvious. So where does The Intruder sit compared to other books in the genre?
Well, it definitely has that isolated, trapped feeling like, maybe the cabin at the end of the world. But thematically, because of the deep dive into trauma, family dysfunction, female rage, reviewers compared it more to literary thrillers. Gillian Flynn's Sharp Objects came up.
Interesting. So it's got the popcorn pacing, but with maybe a bit more thematic weight.
That's a good way to put it. It's trying to do both.
So wrapping this up, what's the takeaway for someone thinking about reading it? Our deep dive suggests it's definitely McFadden doing what she does best, maybe even pushing herself a bit more.
I'd say so. It seems like she's operating at the height of her powers, as one review said. You get that signature pacing, but maybe with more complex characters and themes than, say, The Housemaid.
It creates this really unsettling headspace where, as you read, sympathy and revulsion often coexist. That sounds intense.
It does. So if you're looking for a thriller that doesn't just entertain but actually makes you think, maybe makes you a little uncomfortable, this sounds like a storm worth weathering.
Absolutely. The tension sounds incredible, and those themes definitely seem like they'd stick with you.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on based on that core parallel in the book.
Okay.
If both Casey and Nell killed their abusive, hoarding mothers, does the novel suggest that growing up in that kind of extreme trauma essentially removes moral blame? Or does the fact that they both resorted to the same violence just prove that the cycle of trauma is basically unbreakable?